I have, as Dean said, I have a different background as well. I was part of the World Economic Forum, the future of the internet, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to talk about this at all. What I'm going to talk about is a new book which I'm writing. It's about 6 months away, but I'm quite happy to get feedback. The name of the book is Meditation in the Age of Facebook and Twitter. And when I showed somebody a draft of the book, they called it a platypus of a meditation book. A platypus is a reference to the duck-billed platypus, an organism which is an interim between one stage to another. Now the question is, what I'm talking about is the evolution of meditation. And that's where the transhuman element of meditation combines, to me, with the shamanic version of meditation. So, to me, there are 4 ages of meditation. And just to give you a background, I have a very long time frame of actually meditating. So this kind of brings many different perspectives together. To me, there are 4 ages of meditation. The first one is shamanic, and I use that word generically. It means cultures which were perhaps just on the verge of being in cities or just semi-nomadic cultures. The second age of meditation is religious, which involves religion, structured religion, and some meditation is a part of that. The third age of meditation I call the guru-led meditation, which is something around the 60s and 70s when there was resurgence of meditation with some scientific exploration of the ideas when meditation came from east to the west. And the fourth age of meditation is what I call based on networks. And by networks, I mean social networks and neural networks combined. This is where the idea of Facebook and the brain and meditation kind of blurs in my mind. So, I take a two-sided view of meditation. Firstly, meditation is about disconnection. All of us kind of agree. We have too many messages, we have too much input. We all want to meditate, we all want to go into our own inner thoughts. But I view that as only half the step. The second step to me is connection to something else. And this is where it gets, to my mind, more interesting, because we can disconnect. To a certain extent, most of us can, although we struggle with it, and we will struggle with it more, but most of us can disconnect. So what are we connecting to potentially is a wider question and which we explore. I look at it in 4 ways, in four words. Social, meaning connected. Augmented, meaning enhanced human functions through technology, which is where the transhuman element comes into play. Neural, meaning brain and social networks. To me, all networks have a common paradigm. To me, that's why I kind of seamlessly look at social networks and telecom networks and neural networks together. And finally, meditation, and I look at that as connection to past and to humanity overall. So to me, meditation is not religious. It is, I call it shamanic, in the sense that it is unified all cultures before there were divisions between cultures. So, what I thought about was the idea for this book came about because I've been meditating for a very long time, and there are 2 basic known areas of meditation. One is autosuggestion, other is autogenic meditation. And what I thought about was how could that be kind of enhanced a little bit. And what I'm trying to do, and I'll come about with more of the experiments I'm working on, and hopefully I might get some input from you about that as well, is that first of all focusing on the brain, second of all focusing on the paradigms of networks and emergence, and thirdly looking at the wider implications of meditation in the technological singularity world. So, if you look about meditation, in the 1920s there was this thing by Emile Coe, who basically is from France, and he said that if you repeat yourself every day, in every way I'm getting better and better, this is a French phrase he was using, and if you repeat that without judgment, you will actually improve. There will be a physiological change in you, there will be a basic deeper change in you, and that is nothing to do with willpower. In fact, it is opposite to what we traditionally do call willpower. Based on that, there was a second modification, which is autogenic training. Autogenic meditation looks at the not the subconscious mind, but the autonomic nervous system, basically something which controls the heart rate and so on and so forth. So the idea of autogenic meditation was to look at progressively guided visualization, which meant that feel my right arm is getting heavy, feel my legs are getting heavy, and so on and so forth. This is how I was meditating for years. And I started meditating in India, but not from a religious perspective. It was something I started to do, and I kept on with it for about 20 plus years, fairly regularly. Now, this was the basic principle. Just about everybody meditates, whether you use it using breathing, whether you use mantras, everything basically comes down to one of these two steps. The question I have, and that's a Gedanken experiment, and a German term that Einstein used, which is basically a thought experiment. See, how would this experience apply to the brain? Could you take some of these ideas of autogenic meditation and think about the brain? What would that experience look like? Would it maybe meditation? Would it slow down thinking? And it has more deeper questions. And this is how I started to get into this whole idea. Is the brain an oscillator? Oscillator is something which has a frequency. Does it resonate? Can it synchronize? Is that synchronization spontaneous? Can meditation help in that synchronization? Can emergence arise as a result of that synchronization? Can that synchronization be augmented by technology? And already we had a couple of discussions in the morning from a professor at Warwick University. That seems to be almost the case. And what happens when it evolves further? Now this means there are at least two technologies I think of today which are looking into them. And one of them is by this guy called Art Winfrey, who died I think in 2002. Rather untimely death in my view, because what he was trying to do was I think, a very unique form of exploration, a scientific exploration, where you bring many different things together. What he was trying to do was to study very large-scale synchronization of biological oscillators. Now this means, what biological oscillators means, things like fireflies, yes? If you observe fireflies, they kind of synchronize to each other. What happens if there are millions of them? They're all synchronizing. What happens if you take about 20 of them, take them in a dark room? Will they synchronize or not? How will they synchronize? And this is the sort of biological synchronization experiments he was starting to conduct. And perhaps it looks very silly, but when you think about it, every biological function has a rhythm. The heartbeat, the jet lag, all these things are basically to do with the same concept. And that concept of what he was trying to do. And what he found out was at a certain oscillators display cooperative behavior. At a certain threshold point, they synchronize. They become locked in. And this, to me, is an interesting concept. I think it has not been explored so much. And partly because I think he died at a relatively early age of 60, which I think there was much more, especially what we see in technology today. There are other, of course, areas of quantum coherence and so on and so forth. Many of you know quite well. Quantum mechanics works at very small levels, what is called the de Broglie wavelength. But there are now many experiments, and David corrected me on this, that there are quite a few of them which actually look at quantum mechanics at larger bodies, or more hotter bodies. So clearly the quantum phenomena also is a synchronization phenomena. I think the previous speaker mentioned also about not the synchronization rather than the thermodynamics law. So